Well, the White House reportedly briefing some families of U.S. hostages today about a shift in how it tries to save Americans held captive overseas. Tomorrow, the administration will publicly announce the changes, which will reportedly allow families to pay ransoms for their loved ones without fear of prosecution. A probe was launched last year after the Obama administration was criticized for failing to do more to bring back missing American journalists James Foley and Steven Sotloff and aid worker Peter Kassig. All of them were beheaded by ISIS. And since then, 3 other Americans have been killed while in militant custody. So I want to go to you first on this, Taya. The administration doesn't seem to have a policy when it comes to getting U.S. hostages back. Should we?
You know, I think that's a very personal thing. You know, I do go back a little bit to the whole Benghazi thing, if you'll bear with me for just a minute. And, you know, Hillary Clinton saying something like, people die in America every day, is so in the face of what it's like for a family member. If that was her daughter over there, I don't think she would have the same take on it. So by involving the family members, I think you get a more impassioned response, and I think you get a well thought out response. I also think that you have to be careful when you're negotiating with terrorists or anybody else who's going to be kidnapping for ransom or beheading, because it only encourages more. So, you know, the whole Somali pirate issue, those pirates were out there and it became a way of life. They show up, you give them the money, they leave. It's almost like they would put it into their business, you know, plan that this amount of money would go to them. So in contrast to that, when they hit an American ship and they kill them, they're going to think twice about hitting another, you know, American ship. And I think that unfortunately these are not people to be talked to. They're not people that we can have a cup of coffee and reason with. And so, you know, I feel that it's good to involve the family members, and I also feel like if you want it to stop, you better hit hard, and you better hit fast, and you better show them that we're not just saying, it's okay, you can kill our people. It's, you want to take a hostage? We're coming.
Yeah, the one thing that, and I'm glad you put it that way, Taya, because the one thing that I thought when I read this was, is this administration trying to absolve itself from some of the responsibility of having to get Americans in harm's way back? And so we want to really be careful about going down that road, as you pointed out, because if we extricate ourselves so much, it will become part of a business plan for savages who are out there. So it's a fine line, I think, that the White House sees it's walking. They're trying to make it about the money portion, but really it's about the support portion of all of this.
Yes.
It's one thing to say, oh, Kennedy, I'm not going to come after you if you want to do a money deal with the terrorists. It's another thing to say, look, if you don't want to do that deal and you want us to go in there and get your loved ones, those are 2 different conversations. What I hope is happening here is not that the White House is trying to muddy the gray area there, that they're trying to make them all one conversation, because it's different.
Well, it does seem like the message coming from the administration, though, Kennedy, is if you go overseas, if you're an aid worker or whatever, you're on your own.
There's a level of assumed risk. And, you know, everyone knows that who goes over there, whether they put on the uniform, whether they work for an NGO, they know that. But, you know, again, you have to go back to the families. You know, if it's your family member, if it's your brother, you know, or your mom or someone else who is taken captive, of course you want to do everything in your power. And the problem is there is so much gray area. And, you know, a lot of these families, Kayla Mueller's family, you know, James Foley's family, they were very upset by their interface with this administration and the federal government because they got contradictory answers and they felt like they didn't get help. They felt like the government didn't have their back.
And that wasn't a money issue.
I mean, Charles, you follow money, but I think it's even bigger than money, as Harris just said, because we sat here on this couch when President Obama gave the remarks after the beheading of James Foley and then went golfing.
Sure.
So this is bigger than just the administration not paying.
Can we say first and foremost, why don't we just crush ISIS once and for all? That would make all of this a moot point. If we had a real solid policy to go in there and destroy these people instead of letting this happen. Having said that, it is already part of their business model. It is already part of their business model. They are starving for money. They lure these kids over. They promise them things. They give them money when they get there. They need cash. They need to steal oil. They need to sell art stolen from these artifacts, and they need to have ransom. So if an American family can afford to bring a loved one home, I don't have a problem with it. My problem is how the hell did we get here in the first place because of this fickle policy where the administration doesn't know what it wants to do with an enemy that is in 4 countries right now and wants to kill all Americans.
Well, if only it were just ISIS. But as
Exactly.
you pointed
That's
out,
such a great
Taya,
point.
it's pirates.
Yeah,
It's-
but I think
we've
we
got Al-Qaeda,
kind of know that
Boko
this is
Haram.
about ISIS.
Yeah, Boko Haram, who
Yeah.
now is
or Boko
aligning
Haram,
itself with
the
ISIS.
terrorist
Yeah.
groups though is what
But
I'm
very
talking
quickly,
about.
Yeah.
I think what just it smacks in the face is thinking of the Bergdahl trade.
Yep, the
when
5.
the families do not get their family members
Yeah.
back, but the administration will do a
was
Rose
a
Guard
shame.
ceremony
That
to
was a
get
damn
a
shame.
deserter back
Yeah.
for 5 Taliban
you go.
dangerous.
Oh, I am your father. Look at my beard.